لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن نبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So the topic of this KholafA, the Friday's KholafA will be the reign of the Rashidoon, the KholafA al-Arba'a, the four caliphs in Islam. And the point is for us to look into their journey in Islam and also to look at what they did after the death of the Prophet ﷺ in their service to Islam and Muslims. And it is in the hope that we can look at their stories and find qualities that we can implement in our daily lives to understand Islam and practice Islam the same way that they did. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So we'll continue with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Last week we spoke about his upbringing, his family, some things that he was known for before Islam, before becoming a Muslim. He was a person of character even before the Prophet ﷺ became a prophet. And we mentioned things such as him never having drunk any alcohol, even before Islam during the Jahiliyyah. And during that time, drinking was something, not only was it accepted, but it was something that was widely available. People would not think twice, and because of the tough life that people lived during those days, it was something that took the edge off that difficult day-to-day life. But even then, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he never touched that alcohol. And not only that, but Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiallahu anhu, he never ever worshipped the idols. And this might be something that is even more shocking because the Quraysh during the Jahiliyyah were very much into idol worship, and they had their idols around the Kaaba, and it was expected for them to not only worship the idols, but to be the leaders, the ones that take care of the Kaaba and the idols around the Kaaba. Yet Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he took a different way. So these are just some of the many things that made him stand out from the rest. And also when you look at the life of all these four KholafA, you will see that through the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah Azza wa Jal chose the best of companions for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. People who would sacrifice everything they had to follow in the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ. And they had qualities, whether it be the wealth that they had, or like in Abu Bakr's case, anhu, where we mentioned last week that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he was very good at knowing the lineage of people, the Arabs. He knew the families, he knew the tribes, and he used this knowledge for the benefit of the Prophet ﷺ, so that the Prophet ﷺ became aware of the different delegations that would come and visit him in Medina later on. So today we'll talk a little bit about the relationship that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq had. It was one that would strive towards the khair. Wherever he found good, you would find Abu Bakr in any aspect. Whether if you're talking about being good at reading the Quran, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was there. He was the leader in that. When you're talking about charity, there was no one that was more charitable than Abu Bakr. When you talk about any aspect in Islam, Abu Bakr was the number one person. So he had all these qualities, yet out of all these qualities, perhaps one or two really placed him in the position that we know him as today. The first quality, it is linked to the laqab or the name that the Prophet ﷺ gave him as a Siddiq, the one that is truthful. Not just truthful sometimes, but Abu Bakr as-Siddiq loved the truth to such an extent that this name became an addition to his formal name, Abu Bakr, known as as-Siddiq. And the way that particular incident happened was when the Prophet ﷺ, during the Isra and the Mi'raj, when he traveled during the night, not only to Bayt al-Maqdis, but to the heavens, and came back, the Quraysh, they saw their opportunity, and they wanted to discredit the Prophet ﷺ. So they went to who other than the one that was closest to the Prophet ﷺ. They thought, well, if we want to discredit the Prophet ﷺ, let's go to his closest friend so that he loses that support. And then when they went to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and they told him, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he did not, his faith, his iman did not waver. And he explained to them, I believe in the Prophet ﷺ regarding something far greater. You're telling me about the journey that happened during one night, and I believe in the Prophet ﷺ when it comes to the Jannah, when it comes to the now, when it comes to the Akhirah as a whole. So from that moment on, Abu Bakr was known as a Siddiq, and this quality of being truthful, it was actually shown much earlier. One thing that many people don't realize is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, when he became a Muslim, and he was one of the first people to become a Muslim. When he became a Muslim, he showed his honesty, his honest belief, his iman through his actions. So what did he do? As soon as he became a Muslim, he took this message of Islam to those around him. And it had an immense, tremendous impact. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, through his da'wah, through the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost, and then through the effort of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, people like Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhu, who is from amongst these four KholafA, he became a Muslim. It was because Abu Bakr as-Siddiq went to Uthman and gave him the da'wah, and Uthman accepted and he became a Muslim. Abdurrahman bin Auf, who we hear about how generous he was, from amongst the most generous of companions, he accepted Islam through Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah, who we've spoken about in the past, he became a Muslim through Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. And there is a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ mentions the Ashra al-Mubashirin bil-Jannah, the 10 companions that were mentioned in one particular hadith, as being the ones that have been promised Jannah, being given glad tidings by the Prophet ﷺ that they are in Jannah. The scholars, they say a good portion of those 10 became Muslim through Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So it makes you understand and realize the impact that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq had, and it shows his truthfulness. On a side note, many people, they think that it is only these 10 companions that are promised Jannah, when in reality, the belief that we have as Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, it is that all the companions of the Prophet ﷺ all of them are in Jannah. It does not mean that only these 10 are in Jannah, but every single companion who has the title of being a companion, meaning that they died upon Islam, they lived with the Prophet ﷺ, they saw him, they interacted with him. If they die as Muslims, then they will be in Jannah. And where do we take this from? We take it from the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us more than once, رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with them and they are pleased with Allah. لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has become pleased with the believers. And there are many other verses in the Quran that tells us that all the companions are in Jannah. So the first quality is that sidq, or the love of truthfulness and truth in general, that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq possessed. And it was not just something in his heart, but it showed in his actions. Followed by the second quality that many of the scholars emphasize again and again, it is the love that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq had for the Prophet ﷺ. That true, immense love that made him commit fully, completely to helping the Prophet ﷺ. When it came to the way that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq loved the Prophet ﷺ, there is no other companion that comes close to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq at all. It is mentioned that when the Prophet ﷺ, he got the permission from Allah to make the hijrah, to go from Mecca to Medina. The Prophet ﷺ, out of all the companions, he went to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and he asked him, he told him that I will be going for the hijrah, will you come with me? Do you know the reaction of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq at that moment? What Abu Bakr as-Siddiq did was, he started crying out of happiness. And he said, As-suhba ya Rasulullah, to be in your companionship, to be in your company. And it is mentioned that the daughter of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Aisha radiallahu anha, later on she would say, I never knew that people could cry out of happiness. I used to hear it before, that people, they cry when they're very emotional, very happy. I only realized it to be true at that moment when I saw my father crying in front of the Prophet ﷺ, because the Prophet ﷺ had chosen him to accompany the Prophet ﷺ during this journey. And again, as many scholars, they highlight that this is not, it is a great privilege to be chosen by the Prophet ﷺ, but you have to imagine what it really means. They were on the run, the Quraysh, if they were caught, the Quraysh would kill them. People were out hunting for the Prophet ﷺ, actively seeking him out, trying to find where he went. And then there's this great journey from Mecca to Medina. And they could not travel on an animal, they were traveling on foot for most of the time. And then you have the Prophet ﷺ asking Abu Bakr, will you come with me? So it's, even for someone that has belief in the Prophet ﷺ, Shaitan might come and whisper to him, do you really want to go through this journey? Perhaps you will die, perhaps something will happen to you. But yet Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, being who he was, he did not stutter, he did not waver. When the Prophet ﷺ asked, he obliged and he followed the Prophet ﷺ. And this family of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, his wife and his children, they became such an important part in the life of the Prophet ﷺ that when people would come and ask the Prophet ﷺ, who do you love the most? Who do you love the most? And the Prophet ﷺ was not shy to show the affection, and he said, Aisha radiallahu anha. Right? Today, if someone asks, who do whose company do you enjoy the most? We perhaps become shy to say my wife, right? And we don't even think in that way. But the Prophet ﷺ, he said Aisha, who is the daughter of Abu Bakr. And then the person who was asking said, no, we're asking from the men, not the women. Because the way a man loves a woman is different from the way a man loves another man. So they said, what about the men? And then the Prophet ﷺ said, Abuha, her father. And even the scholars, they highlight the way that the Prophet ﷺ said it. He did not say Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He linked it to Aisha radiallahu anha. And he said, her father. So you can see the tremendous impact that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq had on the Prophet ﷺ, directly and indirectly. The Prophet ﷺ, and perhaps we will conclude with this part, when the Prophet ﷺ's life was coming to an end, and the Prophet ﷺ could sense it, he ordered all the doors to the masjid, all the entrances to the masjid to be closed, except for the door or the gate that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq used to come through. And the Prophet ﷺ, it is reported that he said, everyone that has a hand on me, meaning a favor, everyone that did us a favor, me and my family, we have repaid them, except for one person. There's one person that I am not able to repay. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will repay that person in full. Guess who that person was? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. Actually, before we conclude, I also want to highlight the reality that some people today, they've fallen into the mistake where they speak ill of the companions. They speak bad about the companions. And you hear someone talking bad about Abu Bakr as-Siddiq or Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhum ajma'een, and you think to yourself, what is the logic of these people? If you ask the Jewish people, the Jews, if you ask them, who is the best of all people? Who is the best of all people? What will they say? They will say most likely Musa alayhi salam, right? Being their prophet. And if you ask them, who after Musa is the best of the people? They will most likely tell you the people around Musa, those that immediately helped him, his companions, his followers. If you ask the Christians, who is the best of all people? They will tell you Isa alayhi salam. And if you ask them, who after Isa is the best person or people? They will tell you his disciples, those that were around him. Yet some people today, sadly, when you ask them who is the best of people, they will tell you Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you were to ask them who is the most evil of people, they will tell you his companions. Logically, this does not work. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not deceive his Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam by putting people around him that all of them were evil. That's not to say that there were no hypocrites, there were no munafiqun. There were munafiqun. People in Medina some of them were munafiqun. But the ones that are confirmed, their iman being testified by the Prophet ﷺ, by Allah Himself, in the Quran and in the Sunnah, those people, we are obliged, we have to show them respect and we have to show them love. The scholars in Islam, they say, when the companions are mentioned to you, then hold your tongue. When the companions are mentioned to you, hold your tongue. Even when it comes to things that they disagree about. And perhaps later on we'll talk about it, the fighting that happened during some times. It is not for us to step in 1,400 years later and say, oh, this person was a bad person, or this person did this and this person did that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this in the Quran. وَالَّذِينَ جَاءُوا مِن بَعْدِهِمْ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا وَلِإِخْوَانِنَا الَّذِينَ سَبَقُونَا بِالْإِيمَانِ. Meaning those that come after them, meaning coming after the companions, they make dua for the companions. They make dua for that early generation of Muslims. And they say, oh Allah, forgive us and forgive them, our brothers. So this is the way that we should, the etiquettes that we show when we speak about the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, especially the KholafA al-Arba'a, these four, which are the four that are the leaders amongst the companions. The companions themselves came together, not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times they came together and they chose a leader from amongst them. And on the issue of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, they were all in agreement, 100%. Perhaps later on, as time went on and the fitna grew larger, there were some disagreements amongst them. But once the Prophet ﷺ had passed away, people knew who would take after the Prophet ﷺ. And inshallah, we'll speak about that more in the upcoming